he has absolutely been a guy who's stuck with it, who stayed with it. We have a lot of great guests on our show. Reese Davis, all of them from ESPN. Been wanting to get Dick on a long time and ran into him at the Florida game. And Dick, welcome to the state of Alabama. Welcome to our show.
Hey, Wimp, great being on with you, buddy. Enjoyed talking to you down there at that Alabama-Florida game. And really, lots happened in college basketball since with this so-called alleged. We have the scandal and all the things happening. Teams on a bubble. I hear so often that a bubble. I feel like taking a bubble bath.
Well, I'll give your opinion on the situation with Sean Miller as best you can. I don't really know what's going to come down on that. You're a pretty smart guy, and you've got some feelings about it. So kind of express that to our listeners.
Well, if the allegations are true, and I think we got to wait a little bit more for them all to play out. But I mean, the basic fact is, no way, shape, or form can you have a coach negotiating, talking on a situation about giving a payment to players. So if that's real and they definitely come up with the so-called wiretap of that, I think his career is over with, done, finished. I think in many cases, though, there's been a lot reported that really hasn't been valid in terms of kids. For example, a kid at Alabama, Sexton, and you think about Knox at Kentucky, and you think about Carter at Duke and Bridges at Michigan State. The NCAA has cleared all those kids because really, many times you talk about expense accounts, the kids' names appear in a scenario where they had lunches, and you don't know what is true and what is not true in terms of it's a shirt. Okay, guy submits. Guy's a runner. He's trying to impress his boss. He puts down, I took such and such out for lunch. Well, you don't know how valid that is. Might be trying to be impressive. And the kid's going to get indicted for that? That's ridiculous and absurd. So I was glad that the NCAA ruled in favor of those kids and allowed them to play and continue their careers, because you hate to see innocent kids get hurt because of innuendos and rumors and assumptions.
Well, my son is on. He coached with Dave Oldham. They won the NIT 2 years in a row. You don't get much respect for winning the NIT, I don't guess. But he's coached with me he's got a question he wants to ask you. Go ahead, Barry.
Dick, over in Alabama, I think they passed the rule back when agents got involved with some of their kids. If you do it now in the state of Alabama, it's against the law. You can go to prison. Should that be something maybe that should be done across the country, where if these runners, like you said, these guys trying to make a name for themselves, if they give any of these college kids money before their eligibility is up, they should face jail time? I think maybe that could stop, but should that be done across the country?
Well, you're cutting in and out on me now, Wimp, and I think you asked about giving players money. Is that true?
Yeah, I asked about the agents giving it and make it against the law in the state of Alabama. If an agent,
I think I think there's no question there has to be a revised scenario out there which transpired. I mean, there's zillions of dollars being made, billions, et cetera, with all the things going on. Things have changed drastically. I think the time has come, if you want to eliminate a lot of the sleaze going on, I think that you got to basically go out there and you got to make sure the players get a little piece of the pie. And I think there's nothing wrong to me if a player, for example, wants to be involved in a scenario, signing autographs, he's bigger named, and he can go places, a Heisman Trophy winner, and get some dollars for doing it. Why not? Why not? Better than having it under the table and all the nonsense we're reading and all the stuff that's out there. There's too much out there, too many dollars available. If a guy wants to, why not have an agent to start with? Let him have the agent. You eliminate all the nonsense going on, and if the agent wants to loan them money, give them money up front based on the potential of the athlete, so be it. I mean, it just can't keep going on like this. I mean, it's just ugly. I don't know what the NCAA is doing. The NCAA's got to get off and really get after this, because it's ugly. This March Madness could be filled with a lot of negativity, and really it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. If you get teams down there, Wimp, that really are part of all of this, what's the bottom line is ultimately they're playing in a tournament. Every question will be about, hey, they might vacate your title if you win because your players are being mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's ugly. I don't like it. I'd rather just talk basketball, really. And I'm going to be doing the SEC championship, and I'm looking forward to that.
I'll see you. Of course, I'll see you at this St. Louis. Is it a situation where the FBI are, they're so tight-lipped, and they got involved in it, and they brought it up, and they've got the records of the 4,000 phone calls that they've gotten. Is it a situation where they need to turn over to the NCAA and let the NCAA act? Or are we holding? There's a lot of rumors about Bruce Pearl, a lot of rumors about coaches. How should that come down with the NCAA? Should the NCAA push the FBI to try to give them the information they need?
Well, the FBI, number one, you're dealing with people. I mean, these people know what they're doing. And I think we have to wait till this all plays out. But the NCAA's got to definitely get in here and do something. I think they got to do something before March Madness. I mean, it's something. They have to make some statement somehow and come out with some findings, because it's really ugly what's going on. You mentioned Auburn. Suppose Auburn gets into the finals. Now, do you think the conversation will be about the success of Bruce Pearl and the Auburn team? The conversation's all going to be about Chuck Person and what he did in a scenario of taking dollars to supply two kids to agents, which really troubles me big time. I never thought Chuck would play that kind of game. Had such a great, illustrious career in the NBA and at Auburn. It breaks your heart to think about some of these assistant coaches and things they've done with agents behind the scenes. But let's not run away from the fact that head coaches have to be accountable in a way for what's responsible and what transpires in their program. And that's what brought down Rick Pitino. I really firmly believe that Rick Pitino, in many cases, was not aware of some of the stuff that went on. But you're the head coach, and you got to be accountable. And the same should apply basically in the world of sports. Why not the NCAA? I mean, you're the head of the NCAA. You're Mark Emmert. You're the boss. If things are going down now within your scenario, where things are not being done after years of trying to rectify some of these problems, maybe he has to be accountable. I don't know. I'm just pointing that out. Coaches, they keep saying have to be accountable. There are many times when you know this, and I know it, we've been a coach, you don't know sometimes what's transpiring behind the scenes where maybe an assistant or two who's trying to climb the ladder and think the quickest way to climb it is maybe to go over the edge.
Well, we've got go ahead, Barry.
Dick, Kentucky's always been let's talk basketball now. Let's quit talking about other stuff. Kentucky's always been the cream of the crop of the SEC, but it looks like some of these other teams have closed the gap. Just what do you see when you look at the SEC this year, Dick?
I tell you, I'm having a tough time getting you now. It's cutting in and out.
Dad, you asked the questions. I guess.
Okay. All right. What about the SEC? I know Kentucky is. I don't think we have anybody in the SEC who will get to the Final Four. We have our league is better. Good chance we'll have 8 teams in the league, which is a lot more than in the 80s when I was coaching. But are we in a situation where teams like Virginia, for example, talk a little bit about the SEC. Do you feel like it's gotten stronger?
Hey, Lim, the SEC to me right now is the best conference in basketball for this year. The SEC and the Big 12, you can have a toss-up with both of them. The SEC from top to bottom has been unbelievable this year. You can't predict what's going to happen, and where I disagree with you, I think they do have teams that can challenge for a Final Four status. And one of them is playing really well right now, and they better be careful because people have written them off big time, and that's Kentucky. Kentucky has enough players, enough athletes, enough coaching, enough motivation that they can go on a run in a tournament and win 4 games. They can win 4 games and get to the Final Four. They also can get beat in the first round. I mean, they can. But there's so much unpredictability right now in college basketball. Take a look right up at top and right down to the bottom. There's so much unpredictability one can't project. There are teams out in Florida can get hot. They got enough players. They can shoot the 3 that they can get hot and create problems, create noise. Tennessee. I mean, I look at there right now. I can't wait to do the SEC because it's very difficult to project who you think is going to win that tournament. There's so much balance. And I think it's been a great recovery from the past. I really think you're getting back to the mid-'90s when the SEC was dynamite. You had, for example, the great Kentucky teams. You had Arkansas with Nolan down there. I mean, I think there's no doubt. Don't you feel the SEC has made a lot of improvement?
I thought, when we played Nolan, we had 3 or 4, great players, and we had Orion, Sprewell, and that bunch. He had a great team. So I think it's getting back like that, no doubt about it.
It's all about recruiting. You got to get players. You can't win without players. And
I knew that from the day one. Day one on tonight. you talk about the Big 12, Texas Tech, who really good defensively there at West Virginia. So should be a good one. Texas is at Kansas, and Duke is at Virginia Tech in another league. But down the wire, I think the Big 12 has really gotten. I'm impressed with Texas Tech's defense. I talked to Bobby about it, Bobby Knight, about it night before last. It's going to be the Big 12 knocks each other off a little bit like the SEC does.
Well, the Big 12, very good. I'm up here right now. I'm going to be doing a game tonight on ESPN, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central. I'll be Kansas going to win the tournament, win the conference outright if they win. They're playing Texas, who right now is really desperate for a couple of big wins. They're really, truly on a bubble, and I really firmly believe they got to at least win one of the two that they have this week, and it's certainly not going to be easy. It's not Cupcake City. They're playing Kansas tonight at Kansas, and then they have West Virginia at home Saturday. I firmly believe they got to win one or two of those games because, very simple, it's over 20 years now since a team got in the NCAA tournament that was 4 games under 500 in their conference. If you're 4 games under 500, I don't care about RPIs and all that.
Yeah.
You're going to have a tough time. So right now, Texas is sitting in a scenario at 7-9. If they lose tonight and they lose to West Virginia, they're at 7-11 in the conference. Yeah. And 20 years, man, has passed since the team has been 4 games under 500 getting into the tournament. So it's a big game tonight. It's a big game. Texas has a great freshman, a kid named Bamba. I'll tell you, we have some dynamite big players in the game right now. I saw one Saturday when I did the game with Duke and Syracuse, the kid Bagley. You think about Ayton down there in Arizona. He's a terrific player. Yeah, terrific player. Bomber in Texas. Terrific player. So we got a lot of big-time, big players, and I'm going to try to focus on that. You know, I'm going to let this thing play out with the NCAA from this moment on with the scandal and all. I'm fed up talking about it. I'm fed up with the whole thing. It's ugly. It's no good. But rushing to judgment and making decisions ahead of time is not healthy. I've been guilty of that. We've all been guilty of that. And really going to sit back and wait to what are the facts. I mean, you saw the headlines. I got to get ready to wrap up the win, but you saw the headlines. The headlines said, and I saw, players involved in big scandal, Knox, Carter, Duke, Knox, Kentucky, Bridges, Michigan State, Sexton, Alabama. Every one of those cases was a lunch that we don't even know in many cases. At Duke, the kid never even was at the lunch. The guy fills out, so it's on a spreadsheet, and on an expense account, the guy submits it to the guy Dawkins. I know one thing. Anybody that's had contact with that guy Dawkins, the runner to the agent Andy Miller, I know they're not sleeping like a baby at night. They might be crying like a baby because you don't know what that guy's coming out with.
All right.
Well,
before we let you go, could you how good is this Nick Saban guy? Dick, how good is Nick Saban?
We'll get Nick listen to your show.
What's that?
Nick Saban, I think you're a pretty big fan of Nick Saban's as well as Avery Johnson, both of them. I think I think you've enjoyed the way Nick and his football team has done at Alabama.
Well, Nick Saban, to me, what he did for us with our gala, you know, every year, I'll close with this one because it's so important to me. We have a gala, which you know, every year to raise money for kids battling cancer, the Dick Vitale Gala. And we honored one year Nick Saban, and he and his wife, Terry, couldn't be nicer. They were so generous. They gave us a big donation, a check. They committed $50,000 on his own. Nobody, forced him, showing the kind of guy he is to help kids battle cancer. He was very touched emotionally. He said when he was at our gala with the number of youngsters we introduced who are courageous battlers of that dreaded disease. If anyone in Alabama would like to help us, I'm hoping to raise $3.5 million this year for kids battling cancer. And it really breaks my heart that one of the youngsters that's been with me for the last 4 or 5 years at my gala lost his life. I went to his wake, Tony Colton, and we're going to pay tribute to Tony, do a research grant in Tony's name, and help other kids. So anybody who would like to donate to help us raise money, just go to dickvitaleonline.com.
Thanks so much, Dick.
Thank
you so much. I look forward to seeing you in St. Louis. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, buddy.